Okay, recording a video while driving is probably not the safest thing to do, but I'll try to do this carefully. I wanted to talk about my opinion on which is better for portable gaming, the Nintendo 3DS platform or the Apple iOS platform. And, you know, a lot of people like one or the other, or maybe they play both, but I've been playing the Nintendo 3DS XL for the last week or so, and I have to say I wasn't really too impressed with it. Mainly because for me, the 3DS, the 3D, kind of gave me a headache. And I could only play for maybe 10-15 minutes before I started getting really severe headaches. And that might just be me. You know, I've heard the 3D works pretty well for some people. But also, the games are a lot more expensive on the Nintendo. They're like $39 typically. Whereas on iOS, you can get games for free. And usually, even the most expensive games are like $4.99 or $9.99 at the most. Granted, they're not 3D, but I actually prefer that. Also, on the Nintendo 3DS XL, and even on the 3DS, the resolution of the screen is just not very high. So, you know, things don't look as sharp. They look a little jaggy. You know, if you look close, they look pretty jaggy and stuff like that. Whereas playing a game on the iPhone 5, for instance, you know, you have the Retina display, so, you know, the games just are a lot sharper and stuff. You know, much higher resolution. You know, the other thing too is I found that on the Nintendo 3DS XL, I have to wear my glasses in order to play the games, just because the 3D didn't work without wearing glasses. Like, you couldn't hold the screen up close to you, because in order for the 3D to work, you kind of have to hold it at a certain distance. So that was one kind of negative as well. Now, it is true, like I said, the games on iOS are cheaper. However, sometimes you might download a game that you don't like, and then you can't resell it. Whereas, like on the 3DS, if you buy the cartridge, you can always resell that used, you know, and recoup some of your money. So that's something to be aware of or to take into consideration. But I think in general, for me, I much prefer the iOS games. And, you know, granted, they don't have like Mario games and stuff like that on the iOS, but, you know, they do have some equivalent games. For instance, like, they have a Sonic racing game, which is, you know, pretty equivalent to the Mario Kart. I mean, yeah, it's not 3D, and it's, you know, probably not as good, but yeah, it has online racing and all that kind of stuff, and it's pretty fun. So, another plus, though, on the 3DS is the, I just parked. But anyway, another plus on the 3DS is that you have the actual buttons. So that makes the game easier to play, because, you know, games are much easier to play when you're actually pressing buttons rather than using the touch screen. So that's something to be aware of. But I think for me, in general, I much prefer the iOS devices. I have all my games, you know, I can put them on the iPhone and just have it with me all the time, because I have my iPhone with me all the time, and I don't have to carry a separate device. Also, the games are cheaper, and I have the Retina display, so they're much higher resolution. And if I want to get into it and play a game on the iPad on the bigger screen, I can certainly do so. And, you know, I can play a game on the iPad that way. So my preference is definitely towards the Apple iOS system for gaming, even though it has the touch screen. You know, some games work pretty well on the touch screen, but, you know, some games don't, you know, so that is a negative. But, you know, that's pretty much my preference. Whereas the Nintendo 3DS, for all the negatives that I've just said, I kind of don't like for that reason, and also it costs more money and stuff too to buy the games. So, what are your thoughts on that? Go ahead and leave a comment. You know, do you agree with me? Do you think the iOS game, you know, having games on the iOS is better? You know, what platform do you prefer if you had to pick one? I don't know. It might be a hard choice, but for me, I just found, mainly because of the 3DS kind of gave me a headache trying to use it in 3D mode, I just found that I wasn't that into it, you know, when playing the games. I couldn't play them for, you know, that long, and I just prefer to play games on iOS. So, all right, thanks. See you in my next video.